What's up guys, it's your boy Wolf. Diablo 4 beta just ended last weekend and I decided to showcase my strongest setup on my strongest character from the beta. I started the beta with a BARB on the early access weekend and went on to level 1 of everything. Stopped the Sorks and Necro early because I'm not a fan of these caster or minion playstyles really, but I did get a BARB, 2 rogues and 2 druids to 25, which was the max level in the beta. In the last day and a half of the beta, with my second druid hitting 25 and still being as phenomenal of a weak failure as my first was, I decided to go back to my BARB and try and put a real setup together and min-max it to a certain degree. Now I wasn't planning on min-maxing to the degree where I was going to max upgrade every piece and get max rolls on every legendary power. I was just going to imprint the first version of every aspect I needed as they dropped. But I did manage to put together a pretty strong Whirlwind setup that destroyed dungeons in less than 2 minutes and shredded the Butcher in seconds. Now if you're someone who wanted to try this setup but didn't get around to it, saw someone playing it in game and wanted to know what it was and how it's done, want to prepare for live by getting an idea of the build, maybe you're in live right now when you're watching this and you're curious as to how this works, what it can do and how to build it. Or maybe you're even just someone trying to figure out what class you want to play on the live servers at launch. Hopefully this video can help you with all those things. I'm going to start by showing you guys some sped up footage of my farm runs in the Annika's Claim dungeon. It was a great dungeon to farm in by the way because it had a nice circle layout with a decent amount of elites, so it's quick to just run through, kill each elite, pick up loot along the way and then reset and repeat. But yeah, so I'll show you footage from my farm runs so you can get an idea of the capabilities of this build and see it in action if you haven't already, and then we'll explain the build in depth. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so you're probably thinking at this point, yeah Wolf, the build looks great, but how do we do it? How do we copy what we just saw you do and play the same thing and enjoy the spin to win master race. Here's how. First, the skills. It's quite simple. All you're going to do is first take just 2 points into frenzy. You don't need any of these nodes because when you're whirlwinding, you're not really going to be maintaining stacks of frenzy, so these do nothing for you. We're taking whirlwind, obviously, maxing this out, taking that into enhanced whirlwind. It's going to give us fury gain, and then violent whirlwind, so that as long as we keep channeling it, we're getting 30% increased damage. Next, defensives. We're taking rallying cry into enhanced rallying cry, into tactical for the fury gain, challenging shout into enhanced, into tactical again for the fury gain, war cry into enhanced war cry, into power war cry for the increased damage bonus. Take 3 points into booming voice for shout effect durations, which is your war cry, your rallying cry, and your challenging shout. Taking 2 points into swiftness for the move speed. We're skipping this whole section, and then finally we're taking Wrath of the Berserker into prime, into supreme, and this is also going to give us insane move speed, damage, and fury gain. You'll notice that this whole build, the whole thing revolves around just insane amounts of move speed and fury gain. That's all we're really speccing into in this tree, apart from Warcry, which gives us a damage bonus. The main part of this build, the way it works, comes from the legendary aspects. And let me tell you, what you just saw, this is not even optimized. I'm missing 2 of the legendary aspects that I kind of want/need for this build, and 2 of them are also, one of them is also on the wrong item because the game bugged out and wouldn't let me imprint it onto what I wanted to imprint it on. And they're also not all completely max rolls either. The gear rolls aren't perfectly optimized. They're kind of half-assed. Yeah, this looks alright, it will do. But let's get into it. So on the helm, we've got 20% increased crowd control duration and deal 50% increased damage to unstoppable enemies. Got lucky with this one, did get a max roll. This is great because we do crowd control with our challenging shout, which is a taunt, and that's CC. So that's going to last longer. And 50% increased damage to unstoppable enemies is great for bosses, things like dungeon bosses. I can't remember if the butcher can be CC'd, but anything that can't be CC'd, basically, you get 15% increased damage. Then on the chest, very simple one, Whirlwind periodically pulls enemies to you. This is so nice to have for AoE clears, sucking the enemies in with your Whirlwind. Next, on our gloves, we've got damaging an enemy with the core skill has up to a 28% chance to extend the duration of berserking by 1 second. Double this duration if it was a crit. And we're always critting, basically, with this one. We're kind of skipping some items here, but the synergy works in that we're always critting, basically, because on our 2-hand mace, we've got Whirlwind's crit chances increased by 20% for each second it's channeled, up to 80%. Got lucky with a max roll on this one as well, and this is probably the best one to get the max roll on, because getting that crit chance is so key. But basically, we get up to 80% over here. We already have a built-in, what's on our stat sheet? We already have a built-in, I think we start off with base 5%, you get some more from stats, so I've got 15% here. So basically, once you channel this for 4 seconds, so it's increased by 20% for each second up to 80, so channel it for 4 seconds, and then I'm at 95% crit, so I'm basically always critting. So that works really well with this, because the amount of ticks that you do, the amount of mobs you're hitting, you basically have very good uptime on your berserking. Next, we've got each point of fury generated while at max grants 2.4 fortify. This is really nice because it's just free damage reduction while you're whirlwinding around, and you pretty much have 100% uptime on fortify with this. You might look at that and think, well, you're spending with your whirlwind, and how much fury gain is the fury gain really? How do you manage to maintain this? But actually, you'll be surprised. You get really good uptime on the fortify with this. Next, boots. I put these boots on because they're high item level. I like the base. Double evade is really nice for the move speed, for the mobility, especially on the BARB, which really lacks mobility. And it's got a good move speed stat on it. You'll notice that the imprint on it is a duplicate. I just imprinted something that I had that would reduce the level so I could use this, because this was an item that dropped from the level 35 mob. What I would really ideally like to have on these boots is the crits give you up to 16% move speed aspect, because again, you're always critting. So as long as you're critting, you're zooming through and clearing even faster. So that's what you would really want on this. I think it's in the codex. Let me check. Yep, this one. So crits, it says 8%. You can get it up to 16%. Crits grant move speed for 1 second up to 6 seconds. And because we're always critting with this build, it's great, especially for a build that's all about movement. Having that is really nice to have. So that's what I would target for your boots. Then again, obviously we've already spoken about this one. On the first 100 weapon, I have attacking enemies with a basic skill increases the damage of your next core skill cast by 9% up to 50%. So basically attack about 5 or 6 times with your basic attack, and you build it up to 50%. And then when you start whirlwinding, the way the whirlwind interaction works is that it snapshots. So you stack it up to 50%, you start whirlwinding, and you don't lose that buff over time. Whirlwind snapshots at 50%, and that whole single cast, because it says your next core skill cast, that whole single cast of whirlwind, for as long as you hold it down, is maintaining that 50% increased damage buff. Next, we've got each point of fury you generate while at max fury grants your next core skill 3% increased damage up to 90%. I didn't get too lucky with the roll on this. It was exact mid-roll. And this is the one that I said I messed up. Ideally, you want this on your other two-handed weapon, because then that would be 6% up to 180%. And at a max roll, you're looking at 8% up to 240. It's basically a ×3 multiplier. And you'd want that on your two-handed weapon. But my two-handed weapon bugged out and it wouldn't let me imprint over what was already on it for some reason. And I had a free one-hand slot, so I stuck it on hit. But the way this works, it's exactly the same as this one. You build up to max fury, you build up to your 90%, you'll see the stacks appear over here. When it says 90, you start your whirlwind, and it snapshots again, so it maintains that 90% increased damage buff. So what I'm getting here is 90% from this, and 50% from this. And if you did it right, like I was meant to, you would essentially, with a max roll, get 240% and the 50%, and they multiply. With me, I could have got 180%, but I'm stupid. Never mind, ignore that. Then on the two-hand weapon, this is a really nice higher to level sword as well that dropped from the level 35 mob as well. Temporarily, I had damaging enemies with leap, upheaval, or whirlwind has a 90% chance to summon an ancient to perform the same skill. It was a nice filler, a nice placeholder aspect to put on until I found the one I was looking for, because it just helped in my earlier stages of farming for legendaries for the clear, because you basically every 5 seconds get another ancient performing your whirlwind. And it just helps for single target damage against elites and bosses like the Butcher and stuff as well. But for some reason, when I dropped the one I wanted and I went to the occultist, it bugged out. It's the beta, it's going to have bugs, it's understandable. For whatever reason, it bugged out, it wouldn't let me imprint over. Oh well, it is what it is. Then for the rings, you'll notice that this ring is still rare. It's a really nice ring. I quite like this ring actually. It's a low item level, but I like having the stats that I have on it. Physical damage, which is all we're doing. Crit strike damage, we're constantly critting, and crit chance to get us even closer to that 100%. And actually, I think if I boost this to a legendary, because that's a max roll crit chance, when I put an aspect on this and make this a legendary, I think that that would actually give me enough crit chance to basically hit the 100% once this is fully stacked. But what you would ideally want on this, the aspect that I was looking for, was I don't think it's actually in the codex, this one, but you want your shout durations are reduced up to 12 seconds depending on how many mobs were nearby, how many enemies were nearby when you use them. And that one is very specific to rings. That one, it only drops on rings, so rings are what you're looking for that one. Or if you're gambling at obols, you cannot gamble the gloves like you would normally do for the cheapest cost. For that aspect, you have to gamble rings. On my other ring, we have your shout skills generate 2.5 fury per second while active. This is really nice because along with the node that gives us increased duration, and if I had the reduced cooldown on it, you have good uptime on your shout skills, and while they're going, you passively generate fury basically all the time to maintain our maximum fury. And that goes really well with this one. Skills deal up to 50% increased damage based on your available primary resource when cast, receiving the max benefit while you have primary resource. And again, this also works as a snapshot with Whirlwind. So if you build up to max resource and then start your Whirlwind, on that single cast, even if you ever drop below, when cast, because you were at max, it snapshots it as treating you as having been at max the whole time. So it gives you the full benefit of being at max resource. So to end it off, that's all from me for now, guys. I might be putting out one more video after this. I don't know yet. But there'll be more ARPG content from me like this. If you like this video, if this was helpful in any way, if you're watching this right after the beta just to see some of the builds that came out, or if you're watching this at live and you want to get an idea of something that you might be able to do, or trying to decide what class you want to play, then let me know what you thought in the comments below. Let me know what you decided. Let me know if this changed your mind about anything to do with the game or the class or the builds or the skills, anything at all. Tell me everything you want to say in the comments. I will be reading them. I'll reply. You can tell I'm rambling a lot because this is my first video. I'm still trying to get used to doing this. But any advice, tips, support, everything, just load it all into the comments. Everything. Just unleash everything into the comments and I'll be reading through it and I'll be responding to them. And I'll probably pin a few of my favorite ones or like a few of my favorite ones. And yeah. Drop a like on the video, guys. Subscribe, it's free. And to finish it off, I'm going to leave you with an awesome clip of me absolutely shredding the Butcher. And with just a few hours to go on the beta, getting my first ever unique drop. So here we go.